There are moments when something inside quietly whispers, "This doesn't feel right anymore." You can't explain it clearly. Maybe it's the silence that follows every argument, the constant feeling of walking on eggshells, or how your heart sinks when their name lights up your phone. You tell yourself it's just a rough patch, that love is supposed to be hard work. But deep down, you sense the truth. This isn't love, it's survival. Toxic relationships don't always start that way. They often begin beautifully warm gestures, shared laughter, promises that feel unbreakable. Slowly, almost invisibly, the warmth fades into cold control. Affection turns into manipulation, and your sense of self begins to disappear. You stop recognizing who you were before them. This video is here for you, for anyone who has ever felt trapped in something that once felt like love. It's not about judgment, it's about awakening. It's a gentle but powerful reminder that you deserve more than emotional chaos disguised as passion. At Tranquil Hearth, this channel is a warm refuge for emotional healing and quiet reflection, a comforting space for women who have given their hearts, fully lost themselves along the way, and are now ready to come home to peace. Each video is created to help you reconnect with your emotions, release what no longer serves you, and gently rekindle the calm fire within your soul. Through this journey, you will discover the inner calm and renewed strength that has always resided within you. So stay until the end of this video. You may find not just clarity, but the quiet strength that's been sleeping inside you all along. Let's explore the 8 signs that reveal when love has turned into something that hurts more than it heals. 1. The constant unease. There's a certain kind of tension that never leaves your body when you're in a toxic relationship. It's not the temporary discomfort that comes from a disagreement. It's something deeper, something that settles in your stomach like a stone. You feel anxious even on peaceful days, waiting for the next storm to arrive. When you love someone who drains your energy, peace becomes unfamiliar. You find yourself analyzing every word, every silence, every shift in tone. You start rehearsing your sentences before speaking, trying to prevent reactions that you can't predict. You smile when you're supposed to laugh at things that don't feel funny, and constantly check yourself. Am I doing something wrong again? This constant unease doesn't just steal your happiness, it rewires your nervous system. You become used to stress, addicted to the emotional roller coaster, believing that love is supposed to feel like this. But love that keeps you on edge isn't love, it's fear, dressed as affection. The first sign of toxicity isn't always shouting control or jealousy. Sometimes it's just that quiet, haunting sense of dread that never leaves your chest. That's your body's way of telling you something is not right here. 2. Emotional exhaustion. There comes a point when your heart just feels tired, not broken, not angry, just deeply exhausted. You wake up each day carrying the weight of a connection that once gave you life, but now quietly drains it. Conversations that should bring comfort turn into silent battles. You give and give and give, hoping that maybe this time it'll be enough to make things right, but it never is. Emotional exhaustion is what happens when you love without being loved back in the same way. It's the fatigue that settles in your bones after too many apologies that weren't yours to make. Too many moments spent trying to explain feelings that were never heard. You start feeling guilty for wanting peace, for wanting something as simple as kindness. You might notice yourself pulling away from friends, losing interest in the things you used to enjoy. It's not because you've changed, It's because you've been surviving on empty. When every ounce of energy goes into maintaining someone else's comfort, there's nothing left for your own healing. A toxic relationship doesn't always destroy you loudly. Sometimes it just wears you down quietly, piece by piece, until you forget what being emotionally full feels like. 3. Subtle control. Control doesn't always look like locked doors or raised voices. Sometimes it's disguised as concern, as love, as protection. It's when someone begins deciding who you spend time with, how you dress, what you share, or even how you express yourself. At first, it feels flattering. They just care so much. But slowly, that care starts to shrink your world. You start second guessing your own choices because you've learned that peace depends on their approval. You stop wearing certain clothes, avoid certain people, or silence opinions that might cause a problem. Before you realize it, your life no longer feels like yours. This kind of control is built on fear, not love. It's not about wanting the best for you. It's about wanting to own your sense of freedom. And the most dangerous part, it happens so gradually that you convince yourself it's normal. You begin to think that needing permission is love, that being monitored is safety. Real love doesn't need to limit you to keep you close. It celebrates your independence, your friendships, your voice. If someone's care constantly makes you smaller, that's not love, it's control disguised as affection. 4. The disappearing self. There was once a version of you who laughed freely, dreamed loudly, and spoke without hesitation. But over time, in this relationship, that version has faded so quietly that you almost didn't notice. You began to adjust to compromise, to soften yourself, so you wouldn't upset them. And little by little, you became smaller. Toxic love doesn't erase you all at once. It takes pieces of you slowly. It starts with changing how you dress because they prefer something else. Then it's what you say, what you like, how you think. Eventually, you start measuring your worth by their moods, by whether or not they're pleased with you that day. You forget who you were before you met them because everything has revolved around keeping the peace. You may catch yourself avoiding mirrors, not because of how you look, but because of how lost you feel. You start missing your own company, even when you're not alone. The silence inside you grows louder, asking the question you've been avoiding. Where did I go? The truth is, love should never require you to disappear. Healthy love adds to who you are. It doesn't erase you. The moment you realize that you've been living as a shadow of yourself, that's when the healing begins. 5. Constant justification. When love turns toxic, you start living in a cycle of explanation. You justify their moods, their anger, their silence. You tell yourself they've just had a rough day. They didn't mean it that way. It's not that bad. Over time, excuses become your daily language, used to protect not them, but the illusion that everything is still okay. You begin to rewrite reality so you can keep believing in the story you once fell in love with. You defend them to your friends, even when deep down you know they're right. You take the blame for things you didn't cause simply because it's easier than facing another argument. And in doing so, you start betraying yourself in small, painful ways. Justification becomes a form of survival. It keeps you functioning in something that's slowly breaking you. But here's the truth. Love should never need defending at the cost of your peace. You don't have to rationalize mistreatment to make it acceptable. You don't have to carry the responsibility for someone else's inability to love with respect. When you constantly find yourself explaining why the hurt isn't really hurt, that's not understanding. It's denial. And denial keeps you trapped far longer than you deserve to be. 6. Isolation and silence. At first, it feels like closeness, just the two of you against the world. You stop seeing friends as often, answering fewer messages, skipping family gatherings because you just don't feel like it. You tell yourself it's normal to want to spend time with the person you love. But slowly, that closeness becomes confinement. Toxic relationships thrive in isolation. The less connected you are to others, the easier it becomes for control and manipulation to grow unnoticed. You start losing the people who used to remind you of your worth, the ones who could see what you can't. And in their absence, the relationship's version of truth becomes the only one you hear. Then comes the silence. You stop speaking up when something hurts because it only leads to more conflict. You stop expressing opinions, stop disagreeing, stop being honest. You learn to swallow your truth to keep the peace. But that silence, though it feels safe, is the slow death of your voice. When love becomes something that cuts you off from connection and quiets your spirit, it's no longer love. It's a cage built from words like us and forever, when what it really means is alone. 7. Walking on broken trust. Trust is the foundation of love. Without it, even the smallest things begin to crack. In a toxic relationship, trust doesn't just break once it shatters repeatedly in subtle ways until you no longer know what's real. Promises are made and forgotten. Words don't match actions. Lies are wrapped in tenderness, and apologies become temporary bandages over wounds that never truly heal. You find yourself checking their phone, questioning their whereabouts, replaying conversations but the cruel twist is this: you start doubting yourself more than you doubt them. You wonder if you're overreacting, if you're too sensitive, if maybe you are the problem. That's what emotional manipulation does. It shifts the spotlight away from the behavior that hurts you and shines it on your response to it. Broken trust doesn't always come from betrayal. It can come from inconsistency, from promises made in the morning and broken by night. It can come from being told your feelings are too much until you no longer trust your own emotions. Real love doesn't demand blind faith. It earns it again and again through honesty and respect. When you're constantly walking on the shards of broken trust, bleeding, just to keep moving forward, it's time to realize that love isn't supposed to hurt this way. 8. The loss of inner peace. There comes a moment when the noise becomes unbearable, not from shouting, but from the quiet war inside your heart. You can't rest even in stillness. You replay every word, every fight, every cold silence, trying to find where things went wrong. But deep down, you already know. Your peace has been replaced by confusion, guilt, and fear of doing the wrong thing again. In a toxic relationship, chaos becomes your new normal. You grow used to emotional highs and lows, to the push and pull that keeps you dizzy but attached. You start mistaking intensity for intimacy. And while the world outside keeps turning, you feel stuck in a loop where calm feels unnatural, like something you no longer deserve. Losing your inner peace is one of the clearest signs that love has turned harmful. When your mind is restless, your sleep is shallow, and your body carries a constant tension. It's not love sustaining you. It's anxiety holding you hostage. Peace isn't supposed to be a memory. Real love lets you breathe. It doesn't demand that you shrink, explain, or fight to feel safe. It gives you space to be fully and freely. If you've lost that, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been surviving too long in a place that was never meant to heal you. Healing beyond the hurt, realizing you're in a toxic relationship, is one of the most painful awakenings there is. It means confronting the truth that what you poured your heart into was never built to hold you safely. It means facing the loneliness that comes before freedom, the silence that follows when you finally stop fighting for something that only hurts you. But in that silence, something sacred begins to return yourself. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It begins in small, quiet ways, by saying no when you used to stay silent, by choosing rest instead of guilt, by surrounding yourself with people who remind you of your worth. You start to rebuild trust, not in others, but in your own intuition. The same intuition that once whispered something isn't right now becomes your guide toward peace. Leaving or healing from a toxic relationship isn't weakness. It's one of the bravest acts of self-love there is. It's the moment you decide that pain will no longer define what love means to you. And as you take each step forward, sometimes trembling, sometimes strong, you begin to remember who you were before the hurt and who you are meant to become after it. So, if any part of this video felt like looking into a mirror, know this: you're not alone, and it's not too late. You can reclaim your peace, your laughter, and your voice. The love you've been giving so freely is meant to come back to you, whole, gentle, and true. And as always, because the YouTube algorithm usually promotes videos with high engagement, if you feel this video brought value to you, a simple like and a quick subscription will make a huge difference. It not only helps this content reach more people who need it, but also ensures that you never miss the next video that could make a difference in your journey. Thank you, everyone.